Today, we're talking about gratefulness and choosing joy. It's an interview with Susan Fisch Good. Welcome to the Central Conversations podcast. I'm excited to interview a good friend today. She grew up in Latin America, where she lived in Colombia, Nicaragua, Puerto Rico, and Mexico. She learned Spanish very quickly. After college, she moved to the United States, where she now calls Tennessee her home. She's had careers in real estate as a court interpreter, a volunteer firefighter, and a teacher. She is taught in community college, adult education, as well as high school, middle school, and elementary school. And today's podcast is about gratefulness. Her words, her smile, her facial expressions, even her tone of voice show a very grateful spirit. So, therefore, I'm excited to welcome Susan Fisch Good to the podcast.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm honored that you chose to talk to me today. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Well, I said all that's true. So tell people a little bit more about yourself, and particularly I was curious about your background wall, because that might be important to share.
I've moved around a lot, and my family isn't always with me, or some of them are already deceased. It's just really comforting to me to have my family around me. So this is in our kitchen, and I see these pictures every day, and I see my grandparents. I see the boys when they're little. I see Eric's grandparents. It's just very comforting. And anytime I've moved, that's one of the first things I do is put up my family on the wall.
So we're going to talk about gratefulness today. So what does gratefulness mean to you?
Gratefulness to me means to count my blessings, and I'm so blessed. Every single person has really bad things happen to them, and it's how you decide to deal with them. I choose every single day to be positive and to count my blessings and to be grateful, because every day there's good things that happen. One of the things I think about with gratefulness is I saw this metaphor, I read it in a book, that gratitude is like a flashlight. And you look outside at night and it's pitch black. But once you turn on the flashlight, you see everything around you. And it's always been there, just like gratitude. Gratitude, your blessings are always there. You just don't always choose to see them.
Mm.
I don't know if that makes sense.
No, that I've never heard that before. That's really helpful. I mean, when did you learn that in life? I mean, what age, or did you have an experience that kind of where you decided to be grateful?
I've always been, I look at life as an adventure, and I don't want to waste anything. I've had a lot of, the last few years I've been dealing with cancer, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and I've had some rough times. But every morning I get up and I think, okay, what can I do to make today a little brighter for myself and for the people around me? It's a choice. I choose every day to count my blessings, whether it's the sun came out. I'm always grateful just to wake up, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for my friends. I've lived in this community a long time, and I consider my friends, my church family, I consider my colleagues, they're my family. And they've been a wonderful support system for me.
That's awesome. So how has that kind of mindset of gratitude, changed actually your life?
It makes my life so much better because I can choose either to feel sorry for myself, or I can choose to count my blessings. I am so lucky. There's so much out there. I learned at an early age, because we moved around a lot, that you have to take the first step. You have to see what resources are available for you. When I was diagnosed with cancer, I was taking care of my 86-year-old mom. I was taking care of my family. My boys were still home. I was teaching all day, and then I taught 2 nights a week. I did adult ed. So I was pretty busy. And I decided when it came as a shock because I've always been so healthy. I ate well, I exercised, I thought I was doing everything right. And so I learned from that. It's not the things you worry about that blindside you, it's the things you don't see coming. One of the things I was so fearful of when I was diagnosed with cancer was losing my hair. I had read the Diary of Anne Frank when I was young, and I thought, oh, that is awful when they shaved her head. And then the thought of losing my hair was just like, oh my gosh. But then I thought, what can I do to make this kind of fun? Because I don't want my boys to be embarrassed. I want them to continue to have their friends over to the house. And I decided, well, I could get some colored wigs. And then my dear friend Donna, she trimmed them, and I'd buy them at Party City. I had purple, I had every color, and she designed them to my face, and they were gorgeous. And it made getting up in the morning, okay, what color hair do I want to have today? I think today I'll do purple, or today I'll do pink. So it's just I try to make everything as fun as I can, even in bleak situations.
Mhm. Yeah, I remember you with your purple hair, and and I think that was, for me, that's a statement, right? I mean, it's a statement about I'm going to live my life, and I'm not going to allow my circumstances to determine how I feel. You know.
And I'm going to choose joy. I can, we all have we have decisions to make, and I choose joy. And it has worked for me. Even when I had to live at Vanderbilt for 6 weeks, I every single day, even though I was in the hospital, I was in the intensive care, I always got up and got dressed, and I'd put on one of my fun wigs. And it just made things a lot better. It made people respond better. People aren't as afraid of you if you are comfortable with yourself. I didn't want to be one of those a person that has cancer and people are afraid to be around them because they might think, it's contagious. But if you feel comfortable with what's going on, and you just strive to be happy and to show joy, it's contagious, I think.
Yeah, I agree. So, there's a lot of people in life who kind of have a Eeyore mentality, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. Just life is tough, and um, some people find it really difficult to be grateful. Of course, we don't know what they've lived, or what
Mhm.
their shoes have been like that they've lived in. So, why do you think people have difficulty choosing to be grateful?
Well, it's harder to be great. It's much easier to feel sorry for yourself or to be ungrateful and think that you've been abandoned. But God is with us. I mean, God is with me the whole time, even when I'm having to do maybe a MRI and I'm in that little tiny box, and it's really scary. I'm not scared because I know God is with me, and that I will get through this and with God's help. So.
So it's really what you're saying. It's a decision. It's a whole mindset that life is a gift, right? And I'm meant to enjoy it as opposed to life happens to me.
Right. I mean, growing up, I survived a really bad earthquake where 10,000 people died, and we were one of the last to be evacuated. And I witnessed at a young age some really, people dead on the street because they couldn't take care of all the stuff going on. And I learned to just be happy. Okay, I did this. So now, what can I do to make the situation a little bit better? They would bring a water truck through our neighborhood. And so I would run and get the neighbors to let them know that the water truck was coming, and we'd get the water. It's, it's all about um, striving to find peace and know that, okay, this is an obstacle. What can I do to make it a little better? I can't solve all the problems. I can't, but I can make my life, I can choose joy and hope.
Mhm. So, I mean, you mentioned before, different experiences. I mean, um, what are some life experiences, either good or bad, that you're grateful for now with some perspective?
Um, I'm grateful. Actually, I am grateful that I had cancer, because it has opened my eyes to so much more. I'm grateful that it was me and not my family that got it. There are so many resources here that you have to find them, but like the Cancer Support Center is amazing. Um, I'm grateful it has made me slow down, because I was going full speed. I've always been blessed with a lot of energy. My best friend growing up, she would have to take a nap after I came to visit her because I had more energy. I don't have as much energy now, but I still have a lot. And there's so many things that, even though I'm having to be isolated right now, there's so much things with Zoom. I mean, Zoom is amazing. At the Cancer Center, they have exercise classes. So I do yoga 3 times a week on Zoom. I do a low impact weight training. I do art classes. With Zoom, I can record stories. I can communicate with friends on Zoom. I mean, this never existed before the pandemic. So this is just pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. Um, that's true. Well, let me ask you this about your faith. You mentioned your faith a little earlier. I mean, how is either your faith or some spiritual practices kind of influence gratefulness for you?
Every day, the first thing I do when I wake up is I pray, I do my reflections, and that sets the frame for my day. Because if I don't pray, my day doesn't go as well. If I do get up and I pray and meditate and reflect, and I can think on all the positive things that are going on, because every single day there's positive things for every single person. There are bad things too, and it's how you choose to look at those bad things
Hmm.
and what you plan to do on them.
Okay.
Um,
So you think so you pray every day first thing when you get up out
I
of
do.
bed, huh?
I do.
That's awesome. What about are there any other things that you would recommend that people could do to kind of cultivate that gratefulness in their own lives?
Um, I think a lot of times we're not grateful because we live in fear. We live in fear and worry. I mean, I come from a long generation of worriers, and so I work really hard not to worry because I have no control. You have no control over the future. All you have control of is what you're doing right this minute. Or so this time with cancer, because this is my second time, I've learned to just stay in the moment as much as I can, because I have no control over today. I mean, you really don't have any control. And when you think you do, God has a sense of humor and he'll change. So, yes, I think what I would is try not to fear is having doubt about God. And God doesn't want us to be fearful. He's with us. And he doesn't necessarily throw things at us. Bad things just happen. Um, he's there to be with you and to help you through it. And God has always, throughout my life, has put people in my life to help me whenever I've been through a really bad situation. It's amazing how God puts people in your life.
Mm. Well, that is true. That's true. As I notice you, as I even look at you on this video screen, one of the things that I notice is that you do is that you like to smile, right? You smile not just with your face, but you smile with your eyes. It seems like that's part of the way that you choose to live your life. I mean, it's a simple thing, but it's really practical. Can you talk about that?
It's not easy to be happy all the time. I have to work at it, but I am generally pretty happy. I can find joy in almost anything now. Even when I was at having to be in the hospital at Vanderbilt, I would do an art class with Eric with the Cancer Support Center in Knoxville. We'd have it on Zoom. Um, you have to make yourself do things because if you don't do things, you'll lose them. So I really work hard to exercise. Even when I was in the hospital, I made myself, even though it was hard and I was hooked up to machines, I'd make myself walk because that would speed up my recovery. And having a blood cancer, they're not sure that the vaccines will work on people with a blood cancer. I've been vaccinated, but so I'm trying to build my body as strong as I can, just in case it doesn't work. My doctors feel it might work, but we don't know if it will or not. So just keep going
Hmm.
and strive, every day. I can remember when I was getting treatments here in Knoxville, they put you in this big room and they have these big lazy boy chairs. And the treatment I had is pretty vigorous. It was like 7 hours, 3 days in a row. And I'd be the first one there in the morning and I'd be the last one to leave. And I would bring my computer, and I had read when I was a teenager how Norman Cousins, I believe, he cured his cancer by laughter, watching funny videos. So I brought my computer and I'd watch Carol Burnett, which I never saw before. And I love Lucy's because I wasn't living in the States then. And I'd be cracking up and the nurses would go, "What are you laughing at?" And I'd have my earbuds in and and I said, "I'm watching a really funny video." And everybody else, they're just, it's not fun. And you don't feel good when you're getting it done. But when I would laugh, I would feel better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I remember reading a book a number of years ago by a guy named Bernie Siegel, and he talked a lot about the power of laughter and humor to heal yourself. So, yeah. Um, well, I want to do a little lightning round if I could with you, since we're talking about kind of being present, being grateful. So I want to ask you a couple questions. We haven't practiced these.
Okay.
So just as you think about today, what made you laugh or smile today?
Well, you make me smile because you are smiling at me. But my husband, Eric, is so funny. He is just a blessing. I woke up this morning with this song in my head, and I didn't I don't know, I can never remember names of songs. And it was something about "Who's Your Daddy?" And so he played it for me. And so he called me earlier and he said, "Well, I'm going to ask you some questions to get you ready for Scott." And he goes, "What's your name?" And I said, "Oh, my name is," and then he goes, "Who's your daddy?" And then I just cracked up. It's a song by the Zombies. I don't know if you know it.
I don't. I don't. I'll have to listen to that afterwards. That's funny.
But Eric makes me laugh. I don't know.
That's all.
I
That's
get tickled. I get tickled very easy. So I'm very blessed.
How about this one? What's something somebody did that was thoughtful or kind for you recently?
My dear friend Diane brought me this beautiful mask yesterday at church, and it's a facial mask, and it looks like it's from Guatemala. It's embroidered, and actually it's the same color as my blouse. And she said when she bought it, she thought of me. And I wear bright colors, make me happy, so I wear a lot of bright colors. So she got me this beautiful mask, and it was a total surprise, and brought me joy.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, even what you just said there is just really profound. Bright colors bring me joy. That takes self-awareness as you think about what brings you joy, even what you wear. So that's
You
good.
have to yeah. And if you get up every morning and get yourself dressed all the way, you will feel so much better. In the hospital, I always got dressed, and the nurses are like, why do you get, I said, it makes me feel better. And they're like, okay, so.
Yeah. Another question, what's an aspect of how you were parented for which you feel grateful for?
Um, since we moved around a lot and we'd moved to foreign countries, my mom and dad always made it sound like it was an adventure. So I try to look at my life as an adventure, and I tried to teach my boys that. I think also both my parents. My dad was a Holocaust survivor, and then my mom. Um, she thought she had given up on, she decided she wasn't getting married, and so she decided she wanted to see the world. So she was in her late 20s and she decided she was going to go to Latin America and just with a girlfriend and check it out. And so they both have, they had a surviving spirits, and I think they passed it on to me.
Yeah, and then really a spirit of adventure. You just sort of
Yeah.
brought that up earlier too, like your mom too.
Mhm.
Um, and then last question, what happened this year that you're grateful for?
Wow. Um, I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for my church family. I'm just grateful to be alive. I'm enjoying all the seasons, the colors. I'm just very grateful. I'm, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting even while you're talking, it made me think there's power when you speak it out loud, isn't there?
Yes.
By saying, I'm grateful for. It's more than just kind of saying in your head. Can you talk about that?
I think it's important either, go to bed at night with something positive. If you can list 5 things that you're grateful for that day, it could be somebody called you, or it could be you saw a beautiful flower. It doesn't have to be something really complicated. It will help you sleep better. There's also, I have learned a lot of things that I put in my tool chest from the Cancer Support Center. I learned about mindfulness, controlling your breathing, how to just be in the moment. And I think that helps so much. Um, did I answer your question?
No, you did. Yeah. I just think there's a lot of times we think things. Some people tend to think things in their head, but they don't speak it out loud. But there's something about like me being a pastor when people say like, I choose to forgive so and so. There's something like that you say it out loud that it it taps something. And same thing, I hadn't thought about that in terms of gratefulness. Probably saying, I am grateful for this and this kind of probably taps that same type of muscle.
And I think we all have tape recordings in our head, and some people carry negative ones, and I've had negative ones too. And you need to replace those with, I'm grateful. This isn't so bad. I can do this. I can do this. This is only going to take 5 minutes, or, I can stand this for whatever. But we need to change the messages that we're talking to ourselves and be our own best friend. You wouldn't talk to you're a friend that way. So a lot of us sometimes talk to ourselves that way. And so I really work hard to change the recordings in my head, to make sure that they're more positive.
Mm. Well, that's awesome. Well, Susan, I'm grateful for you. And thanks for being on this podcast. And I hope that, as this will release in November here, hopefully this will help people just remember, to be grateful and how God has blessed their lives, so thanks for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.